Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. So I want to do an add-on video to what I did already for the M10 series, tearing it apart, showing all the good and bad. And this is about one of the details that I have yet to see on any electric unicycle ever. I've watched a lot of teardown videos now and it's just not in there. And yet this is something that's important because, well, every time you plug in and unplug your battery pack from the wheel, you are making a nice big arc. This is called inrush current, and it's damaging the electronics. It doesn't hurt the batteries, it doesn't hurt like the capacitors, but it hurts everything else. It doesn't hurt the motor. But all the small electronics, everything else in the wheel is slowly getting damaged because of large spikes of voltage on the electrical buses that are created because of this sudden inrush current. So let me talk about a couple things here. So here in the background you see my bench battery pack, and what this is these are 16 amp hour 4S multi-star LiPo packs. So you can look across here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So from here to here, I've got a little splice in there. So that's 8S across there. From here to here, that's 12S. That's basically 48 volts. From here to here, that's 16S or 66 volts. Here to here, that is 20S or 82 volts. From here to here is 24S or whatever this, 98 volts. And from here to here is 114 volts. That's 28S. From here to here is 32S or 131 volts. So this allows me to test a variety of different voltage setups on a variety of different controllers or whatever. So anyway, this is my bench power supply for testing controllers. And for example, here is a Nuclear 24 FET motor controller, and here's Revolt 100EM Outrunner that I'm testing with it. Anyway, I had this stuff hooked up earlier, but that's neither here nor there. I used this bench battery pack for years, and it's, it cost me a bit of money to do this, but I've been using it for a bunch of years. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple things, and this is the problem that, or one of the problems rather, with these wheels and how they are built. Okay, so, and I'm going to simulate what happens. This right here is a bank of 4 1000 UF capacitors. My Gotway M10 has two 1000 UF capacitors in it, so two of these rather than four. But nevertheless, you still get the same result. You get a big spark when you plug in the battery pack into the controller, and this is bad. And I'm going to show that spark. So anyway, it is also an 82 volt wheel, so I've got these two wires hooked up to 82 volts. You probably can't see it so well on the camera, but this female bullet right here, so these are 5.5 millimeter bullets. They're good for, I guess, about 150 amps. The inside of this one is really scorched because I've done this a few times now, just playing around with the capacitors. The capacitors are unharmed by doing this. It's not them that I'm worried about. It's all the rest of the electronics. That's what gets damaged by all that inrush current. The capacitors, they will take blasts of current day in and day out, 1,000 times in a row, no damage to them. But everything else, not so much. Alright, so anyway, that's those bullet connectors, and the first thing I want to show you, so here's this, and I'm going to touch the wires together. Okay, there's nothing there, there's no spark. It's they're completely discharged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these up. So here is the negative wire. They are polarized, so you want to put them in the right direction, otherwise electrolytics, they tend to explode. See that spark? Big ass spark! I hope that showed up on camera. I sure saw it. Probably saw me jump. Anyway, the ends of these two wires are pretty scorched. I'll put that in there again, but it's probably charged now. Yeah, there's no more spark anymore. Alright, so right now, in that zap, these capacitors are now sitting at approximately 82 volts. It took almost no time, whatever that was, half a second for them to get fully charged. In the process, the ends of the wires here are scorched. There's more scorching inside that bullet connector. Yeah, there's a spot there where it's eroding away the metal now. So this is the sort of things that happen to like the connectors. What I noticed, and I'll discharge that in a second, what I noticed was on one of the pins of the XT60 that plugs the battery pack into the controller board was that there was a big scorch mark on one of the pins. Oops, I'm off camera. On one of the pins in here, and that was bad. Anyway, I'll talk about this in a minute. So here's what happens when you short a capacitor together. It doesn't hurt the capacitor, but all the rest of the stuff is seeing these dramatic spikes in voltage, which causes them damage. Bigger spark, much bigger spark. I hope that shows up well on camera. Anyway, let's do that again. Let me plug back in. So put my negative wire in here, and my positive wire over here, and here we go. Big spark. Zap! And, you know, my connector is getting more scorched. And, of course, the ends of the wires are more scorched. Okay, and I'll discharge these again. Pow! Capacitors are unharmed by this. It's just everything else. You know, connectors, wires, electronics, all that stuff is getting, you know, these wild voltage spikes. And of course, you know, the arcing that you just saw. Which is bad for everything. All of that is going to slowly kill your electronics. And yet, no wheel I seen deals with this properly. Okay, so you saw the bad scenario. What happens? Now let me talk about this. So what this is, you know, I did some videos not so very long ago, yesterday or 2 days ago, about the M10 and then there was no way I was just going to plug it back in because I knew all about pre-charge, because I build EVs, and this is something that I have dealt with for a long time. So I put this little thing together. It's just a couple of XT90 or XT60 connectors, and then a reasonably close value resistor, so that the capacitors, they charge up gently. Nothing sees those wild voltage spikes, you know, huge current hits, anything like that. Everything just slowly comes up to voltage, nice and gently. And then all I had to do, once I left it on there for like 5 seconds, then I disconnected this between the battery pack and the controller, plugged the two of them together, no sparks whatsoever, no fluctuations in voltage, anything like that. It was very gentle and safe, and I didn't damage anything. Anyway, I've yet to see a wheel that includes any kind of a pre-charge in them. This is one of those areas where China has, you know, chinsed out, you know, basically saved themselves a couple pennies on a resistor of all things. I mean, these things just don't cost very much money. And you didn't have to even use a big one like this, because this is a 5-watt resistor. They could have used like a 1-watt resistor. And those things cost like 50 cents. You know, that's me buying them from DigiKey. You know, whereas from China, you know, they make these things by the billions, and they cost them like a penny each. Anyway, that's all they would have had to have done, and they didn't. Instead, every time you plug in your wheel, you get that big pow. And then if you're not careful, and you accidentally discharge it without like hitting the power button so that they bleed out slowly, then you get another big pow when things discharge rapidly. And all of that is very bad for the electronics. It will kill it eventually. I've been building EVs for 5 years, and before I knew about pre-charge, I killed 2 cheapy controllers doing that. They just simply, you know, died after several of the big sparks, and that was that. So anyway, this is a bad thing. It's one of the many bad things that you know, folks like Gotway do, and most of the other Chinese wheel makers. They're just not doing the things that they need to do to make wheels reliable and safe and last long term and deal with things like this. Pre-charging is so easy. I mean, I put this together in 5 minutes. I mean, come on, guys. If I can do it, so can they. Well, I think that's probably all I wanted to talk about in this video. You just don't want to fast charge things. You don't want all that inrush current. So, hey folks, this is De-bodgery saying I hope that helps somebody out, and I hope that will help you avoid some of the crappy things that China does.